Who hasn't been a little envious of Superman's Fortress of Solitude? It's the perfect place for a superhero to get away, kick back, take a break from the pressures of saving the world. In fact, one might say it's a super man cave. Sometimes it's a place for Superman to recharge, sometimes it's his private headquarters. Heck, in the DC animated universe, the Fortress of Solitude housed an intergalactic zoo. So even though the color scheme is a little lacking, you can't say the space isn't versatile. There have been several different versions of the fortress throughout the years, appearing in varied locations across the globe. The Arctic, the Antarctic, the Andes, and the rainforest in the Amazon. But there's one thing they've all had in common: the presence of sunstone crystals. Sunstone crystals have been utilized in many ways throughout the DC universe, but you can basically think of these fictional stones as programmable diamonds. Kryptonians use them to manufacture ships or create supercomputers, and all of the most iconic versions of the fortress are made entirely out of sunstone crystals. And remember the Man of Steel movie, how Superman was able to talk to his father in the fortress? Yeah, this too was made possible by sunstones. Now, sunstones exist on Earth, but not quite like in the comics. Real sunstones are a kind of feldspar, and they have a gorgeous glittery sheen called adventure essence, whereas Kryptonian crystals have adventure essence. No one? Anyone? Their sheen is caused by inclusions of copper, hematite, or pyrite, so our sunstones, while beautiful, can't be used to build supercomputers. Bummer. Researchers are working on storing data on fused crystals with ultra-fast lasers, but we're not quite there yet. Even though crystal caves like the kind Superman is used to don't quite exist on Earth, there are still some pretty interesting analogs. Does the Cueva de los Cristales in the small town of Naica, Mexico look like anything you've seen in Superman's world? Scientists have compared the Cave of the Crystals to Superman's Fortress of Solitude since its discovery in 2000. And for good reason. Being almost 1,000 feet into the Earth makes it extremely secluded, and since temperatures can rise to 112 degrees Fahrenheit along with 99% humidity, only a superhuman can spend more than 10 minutes down there at a time. In fact, scientists have had to work pretty hard to figure out a way to survive down there at all. They developed a special refrigerated bodysuit and breathing system. The suit contains tubes that are wrapped around the body and connected to a 44-pound backpack filled with cold water and ice. The crystals located in the cave can't function as a supercomputer, but they certainly are fascinating. The cave sits right on top of a giant fault in the Earth's crust. The magma in the fault heated the groundwater in the cave, groundwater that happened to have an excess of sulfate ions. Over time, oxygenated water made its way into the cave, but it couldn't mix with the sulfate-saturated water because of the difference in densities. Over time, oxygen from the surface water made its way into the higher density water, and the new concoction slowly crystallized over the course of 500,000 years, creating the giant crystals that we see today. The largest crystal in the cave is 40 feet high, 13 feet wide, and weighs about 55 tons. We can't do much more than sit back and admire it, but if Superman wanted to remodel the cave, he shouldn't have much of a problem. Faster than a speeding bullet and more powerful than a locomotive, Superman can pick up a 55-ton crystal without breaking a sweat. Specifically, these stones are known as Selenite Crystals, which is a crystal clear variety of gypsum. Gypsum remains transparent and colorless unless other minerals are introduced. It's also a relatively soft mineral. You could even scratch it with your fingernail. That is, if you want a taste of what it must be like to be Superman. So even though the Cave of Crystals looks like the closest representation of the Fortress of Solitude, there are other caves Superman could hang out in that aren't as hot, like the Eisfriesenfeld Cave in Austria. This cave is made mostly of limestone and ice. It was formed by the Salzach River, which eroded away limestone passageways through the Tenon Mountains. Snow from the mountains then began to trickle into these newly formed passageways, encapsulating them in ice. This cave, and others like it in the Swiss Alps, would make an ideal dwelling for our Kryptonian friend. These alpine caves also provide us with other crystal formations that would make Superman feel right at home. Alpine-type fissures form inside the rocks in the Swiss Alps, and some of them grow to be quite large. These fissures formed in very high temperatures, typically between 200 and 600 degrees Fahrenheit. At this level of heat, rocks can bend, but they're still solid. There's also gases trapped in the rocks, and when those gases get trapped and they're released, well, I'm just gonna make your own joke on that one. They actually also cause holes in the rock. These actions allow pockets to form inside the rock, and these pockets are full of the necessary minerals needed to form quartz crystals. Quartz is a mineral made of silicon and oxygen. Rose quartz, jasper, onyx, and amethyst are all different varieties of quartz. Even though Superman can't use quartz to make spaceships or resurrect his dead dad, we Earthlings can use quartz to make all different kinds of useful things, including glass, sandpaper, windows, and ceramics. So these fortresses of solitude, both real and fictional, are pretty inaccessible for human beings. If a Kryptonian ever does make it to Earth and is in the market for a getaway pad, he still has got a couple of places to hide. You know, he may just have to hit Mexico or the Alps instead of the Arctic. Have your parents ever jettisoned you into space as a baby because your home planet is dying? I don't think mine did, but anyways, let us know in the comments, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. For more information on the topics we discussed today, check out the links below. Thank you for watching.